Hello people and welcome to BTech. David here, and this time I want to talk about the Mate 20 Lite. I want to go over some of the more interesting features of this mid-range phone, because I think you get a lot for your money here. I mean, you get a 6.23 inch IPS LCD display with a generous 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio, 20 megapixel main camera and a 24 megapixel selfie camera, both of which are backed up by 2 megapixel depth sensors, not to mention a generous 128 gigabytes of storage and 4 gigs of RAM, and even 6 gigs of RAM in some regions. The mid-range space is becoming a very competitive place to be. For this price range of about £350 to £400, there's some very good phones available, and some very interesting ones about to hit the shops very soon. Things like the Nokia 7 Plus, which I tested a little while back, and I rated really high, and it's still one of my favourite phones that I've tested this year. Or the brilliant Samsung Galaxy A8, or the soon-to-be released Galaxy A7 Plus, which will be Samsung's first device with 3 rear cameras. But I think this mid-range Huawei really does hold its own among this crowd, and it's got more than a few tricks up its sleeve too. I'll be taking a good look at the camera, plus we'll have a full review on BTech very soon, so make sure you subscribe for that so you don't miss out. But before we get into this one, I want to tell you about a site called Direct Mobiles. They have a fantastic selection of the latest phones and have great deals whether you're looking for a new contract or want to buy your phone outright. They sponsor us here at BTech and have over 23 years of award-winning customer service, so it really is a good place to get your new phone. Check in the description below for a link to their website or search directmobiles.co.uk. Now the first feature I want to mention is hiding the notch, because I don't feel like this phone should have one. I actually think it would look much better if it just had some thin bezels. And once I hide the notch, I think you'll agree. Just click Settings, Display and Notch, then click Hide Notch, and in my opinion, the phone immediately looks better. But don't get me wrong, I don't hate notches generally. I actually like them in some phones, just not this one. By default, the EMUI software displays all your apps on the home screen at once. If you're coming from an iPhone, you might be familiar with this kind of layout, but if you prefer the Android style of things, with the app drawer, then you can switch back to that. Go to Settings, Display Settings, and then go to Home Screen Style. Now you can select whether you want the app drawer or not. Next is the ultra power saving mode. Now on some phones, although it's cool to have the ultra power saving, it does take away a lot of the functionality, which kind of puts you off wanting to actually activate it in the first place. But here you can customize it with up to 6 apps of your choosing, and these will be displayed while the ultra power saving is active. Just click Settings, Battery and tap Ultra Power Saving Mode. You'll be taken back to a dark home screen with just 3 apps available and room for another 3 of your choice. Tap the icon to add the apps you want, or tap the edit icon at the top left to customize further. Another nice feature is the App Twin. It allows you to clone apps so you can have 2 accounts of any particular app on the phone at the same time. Just click Settings, Apps and Notifications, and then App Twin. So now you have 2 icons of the same app on your home screen. You can't have 2 WhatsApp accounts using the same number, but this phone supports dual SIMs, so if both slots are being used, then that's not a problem. Private space is quite an interesting feature. It creates a separate zone on your device that only you can access by using a specific fingerprint, password or pattern. So it essentially gives you 2 phones in one. You could even put a different launcher on one space to give a different user experience, but then just tap in a different password from the lock screen to go back to your original setup. Given the huge screen that you get with the Mate 20 Lite, and the fact that you need to stretch all the way up to the top to get notifications tray, it's worth mentioning the nice and easy access to the one-handed mode, which they call mini screen view. By default it should be on, but it can be activated or deactivated in the display settings menu. To use mini screen view, just swipe left to right across the on-screen buttons for the screen to shrink down to the right hand side, or from right to left to have it shrink down to the left hand side. Now everything is in easy reach, including that notifications tray. To go back to normal, you just tap on the blank space. Very simple to activate and very useful. The face unlock feature is worth mentioning because I find on Huawei devices that it works really well, very rarely failing to recognise you even in quite difficult lighting conditions. And it's super easy to set up. Just go to the settings and tap on security and privacy, and then face unlock. You will have to set up your password if you haven't done already, but once you've done that, just place your face within the circle and Huawei will take a second or two to store your data, and that's it. The next time you look at your phone, it will unlock. Next is the motion control options. Go into settings and tap Smart Assistant, then tap Motion Control. Here you can set and customize a set of gesture options. We have Flip to Mute, which will mute the ringer volume on an incoming call by just flipping the phone over. Pickup lets you reduce the volume for incoming calls or alarms by picking up the phone. There is also Wake Up device, which I like to keep on, but it is set off by default. This just wakes up the device when you pick it up, and if you use it together with the face unlock feature, it makes it super fast to unlock. Raise to ear lets you answer phone calls by just raising up the device to your ear. It also works for making calls as well. And if you're using a Bluetooth headset, it will switch from the headset sound to the earpiece sound automatically when you raise it up to your head. 3-finger screenshot allows you to take a screenshot by swiping 3 fingers across the screen. It's not activated by default, so you have to go into the settings to switch it on. The default way to take a screenshot is with the knuckle gesture. Just tap twice on the screen with your knuckle to take a shot, or you can draw with your knuckle on a portion of the screen if you want to capture just that part of it. You can also tap on the screen with 2 knuckles to start and stop a recording, or draw an S with your knuckle to take a scrolling screenshot. This is all good stuff if you can remember it all. But if, unlike me, your brain is not a sieve, then there's even more gestures to remember. Draw lets you draw a letter on the screen and link it with a particular app to open it really quickly. By default, the letter C is set to camera, the letter E is set to Google Chrome, the letter M is set to the music player, and the letter W is set to the weather app. System navigation gives you a selection of ways to navigate the phone. If you scroll all the way down in the settings menu and click System and then System Navigation, you'll be presented with 3 different styles of navigation buttons. There's the single key navigation, which gives you 1 gesture controlled on-screen button. Swipe left or right to get your recently used apps. Tap the button once to go back, or long press on the button to be taken back to the home screen. It works in the same way that the physical buttons do on the Huawei devices, such as the P20 series. There's also the traditional Android navigation layout, although it does allow you to customize it and also add a notifications button, which is very handy, especially with such a large screen. There's the navigation dock, which works in a similar way to the single key navigation, but allows you to move the navigation icon anywhere on the screen. And lastly, I want to mention the artist mode in the camera app. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the camera because I've got a full camera review just around the corner, but I'm having a lot of fun using the artist mode, which is basically just some excellent creative filters for your photos. Just open up the camera app and click the More tab and then click Artist Mode. There's a selection of filters and they're all very good. Unfortunately, they don't work for video, only for photo, but they do work with both the front and the rear cameras. And you get some very cool shots with it. So there's a lot of nifty features packed into this handset. It's a really impressive device and very good looking. This blue is stunning, but I think the black looks even better. My full review and comparisons are on the way, so subscribe for that. Hey, if you made it to this point of the video, then thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. It would be great if you could smash that like button for me and hit the subs and the notifications bell so you don't miss out on more of the latest phone and tech reviews. So that's it from me. More from the Mate 20 series on the way. The Pro is coming in mid-October and I'll be at the launch event in London. And I've got a feeling it's going to be a seriously good handset. So make sure you're subbed to be the first to hear about that. I'm David Wildman and this was BTech.